If you're joining us for the first time, my name is Gab, and I'm the Campus and Community Engagement Coordinator here at the Abbey. We just wrapped up our 4th class of Emerging Leaders, which is a program that we do with the Women's Fund of Omaha. For the past 3 years, Sarah has spearheaded this project and really gotten it going, and then this year I took it over. And it's really just a way to support a group of young people in our community as they begin to explore adulthood and explore leadership and their goals for their futures. So we had 12 participants this year between the ages of 18 and 25, and every week they get to speak to a different community leader. This ranges from folks from One World Community Health educators there, someone from Girls Inc. We had a packing party with Access Period, and Deborah was our guest speaker for our last meeting this past week and shared about sort of the trials and tribulations of Urban Abbey and how we find joy in hard times. A lot of the topics that we cover include things like, yes, community organizing and leadership skills, but also things like personal sustainability and resilience, and how we can take care of ourselves as we engage in work that can be heavy or hard. So like I said, this past week, Deborah shared with them, and one thing I appreciate a lot about the group is the questions that everyone asks. I know that historically, for folks who grew up in a conservative church environment, that church was not a place to ask questions. So I feel grateful to be able to make a safe and brave space for people to voice what's on their mind and to share their curiosities about the world. And as Deborah shared this week, one of the questions that came up was, how do you reconcile your beliefs as they stand in opposition to the beliefs of people who ostensibly share the same faith tradition as you? And I think that's really at the core of our work here as a church, is to offer an alternative to the harmful ways of some other churches, and to be so strong in our convictions that we can say to someone who shares our faith, hey, I don't think that you're right about that one. And so I appreciate the chance to be in collaboration with these upcoming leaders, and I can say that I think we're in good hands going forward with some of these folks. So I just want to share a little bit about this program and say that I'm really grateful to be a part of it. Thank you.
My name's Issa. I am the Family Ministry Coordinator here at Urban Abbey. And I'm speaking with you today because I'm actually a graduate of the Emerging Leaders program. I was in the 3rd cohort. Second cohort. Guys, it's been a minute. But I, throughout high school, was very involved in the work of like social justice and community organizing. And so when in college, people kept sending me this flyer for Emerging Leaders, and I was like, I guess I'll try it, And I did, and it was an absolutely incredible program, bringing together young adults from all different kind of walks of passion for social justice and walks of community organizing to talk about not only the work that we do, but also the ways that we can be more sustainable in that work and take better care of ourselves, because it's a draining kind of process. It's a work that I know for me was like, oh, well, the work isn't done yet, so I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to take a breath. And coming together in this space allowed us to see what it can be like to work in a community and be able to know that when you yourself need to take a break, there are other people who can step up and continue that work. Gab said something very wise to me earlier this week. They asked if I had heard about this metaphor of like a choir, and that when you're singing in a choir, not everyone is always singing at the same time. People are stopping to take a breath, and the other people in the choir are continuing that note. So you don't have to it's not just on you alone. You can trust that other people are going to keep doing this work. And that really allowed me to see that there was a circle of people in front of me who were also doing that work, and that there was space that each of us could take a moment and take a breath. So I'm really, really grateful to Emerging Leaders. And afterwards, they were like, do you want to come speak at church service about what this meant? And I was like, I guess so. I did not grow up religious. I grew up kind of suspicious of church environments, so I was like, oh, I'll try it. And when I did, and this was not 2 years ago now, I was like, oh, I was stunned by this community that you all have here, and that I'm now really grateful to be a part of, because this space is another way that I kind of find myself able to take a breath and know that there are people in this room who are continuing the work. And so I'm grateful to be here. Doing Emergent Leaders led me to be where I am now, doing the youth coordinating and the youth programming that we get to do here, raising the next generation of emerging leaders. We have our Youth Social Justice League today, and they're doing care kits for some of our unhoused neighbors, and so we're getting to work together in that space, even with our high schoolers and our Sunday school young people, and it's really special to be a part of. So thank you all for supporting the work of Emerging Leaders. I think it's such a kind of a thing we can be really proud of as a community, that we're doing this work to support young leaders. So thank you.
Hello, my name's Angel Peterson, and Pastor Deborah asked me to talk a little bit about the rule of life. So the rule of life, it is not, if you haven't heard of it before, it's not a set of rules like rules of the road or classroom rules. It's nothing to be concerned about or worried about, keeping people quiet or oppressed. Rule of life here at Bethany, there's a class you can take about spiritual formation, and I was able to take part of it this year. And it was great to be able to work with other people in the group and have that time set aside, that thoughtful intention, and being able to work through what my rule of life was and what that means to me, looking at the different ways, what I believe, what other people believe, and what we believed in that group. Not everybody believed exactly the same thing, but we were able to work through kind of what our own rules of life were. Very much like a rhythm or river of life, it kind of changes with the seasons of your life, and you can come back and look at your rule of life and see how it has changed and what your rule of life looks like. I was able to be intentional. We looked at unpacking maybe some of the things that some of our rules, intentions, some of the things we had done in church before that were not meaningful to us anymore or didn't have the same meaning. And doing that, having the thoughtful, provoking questions to go through so we could write down, or so I could verbalize what my rule of life was. We explored spiritual practices, values, tithing, spiritual gifts. It was a good time in my life to kind of re-examine what my rule of life was, what church meant to me. And we ended kind of right before we started discussing stewardship for the next year and the building campaign, so we were able to bring more people in. It really goes with my rule of life and my rule of life anthem. My rule of life anthem is A Crowded Table by the Highway Women. And my motto for life is do all the good you can, by all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, as long as you ever can. That doesn't mean that from the moment I wake up until the moment I go to sleep that I'm giving and serving others, even though that's very much a part of my rule. To be able to have hospitality and welcoming of that crowded table in my life anthem and do all the good I can, as in my motto, my rhythm of life or my rule of life, I need to have balance. And that balance for me is taking care of myself, being intentional with my time, so I can do all that I can. My rule of life doesn't look like anyone else's. It does share some of the same rules of other people. I'm able to take advantage of creativity that's very important to me and enjoy some of the soul arts classes that Pastor Jane has here. It includes meditation, lending a hand when I can, finding extra ways to move each day, to do activity to build or maintain muscle, keep music and dance in my life daily, and stay colorful and keep working on myself and being true to myself. And if this is something you're interested in, coming up with your own rule of life, watch out for the next Rule of Life class. I know it was really helpful and important to me to be able to be intentional and write down what my rule of life is. Thank you.